The only tag I could find that seemed to fit was electronic music.
I mean, I feel like that's the most most apt tab out of all of them.
Yeah, I don't even know what else we would put. Any ideas?
We could say, no, not really, actually. That's about it.
Folk.
Folk?
Maybe some funk, but that'd be a stretch.
I don't know. I think it's got some funk elements.
All right, I'll put funk. There's a couple songs.
It's not a funk album, but it's got funk DNA.
Mm-hmm. Audio Shop went live. What is this? What is it? When was the last time we streamed or did a podcast?
It's been a hot second. It's been a hot second.
Because it was...
So I had to move to California.
Yeah, because there was the weekend before you moved because you had to pack. And then you moved.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's been like 3 weeks.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Because then you unpacked.
Quite the hiatus.
Not. I mean, we've gone like a month and a half before. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, but just for any holidays.
Yeah. Oh man, I have Yanni.
Are you a little tuckered out?
I shouldn't be. But I definitely sleep well.
Oh, you get enough sleep last night?
I should have. I believe I did.
Get a tight 8 hours?
Probably more than that.
Hey, that's what the weekend's for, right? Catch up on a little bit of sleep. Get a little rest.
I don't want to go back to work tomorrow, yet at the same time, like, I hate it because Saturday, Sunday are the worst because most of my content comes from stuff that I watch. I have to have something on in the background or else I go crazy. And most of that is from streams. And the people that I watch stream don't stream on the weekends. So it's like I can kind of keep up with the condensed down content throughout the week. But then like sometimes depending like I had for this Friday off. So that meant I caught up a lot faster with the material from the week. So by the time Sunday evening rolls around, it's like, well, I don't have anything to have on in the background.
You could put on a podcast. That's what I like to do.
I don't want to find a new podcast, though.
You don't want to find a new podcast?
No.
Out of all of them? There's a lot of podcasts.
There are, but I don't want to find something else. I like what I like.
Well, all you listen to is Report of the Week, though.
No, I haven't been listening to his stuff a ton recently. I do have some of those I could go back through, but when I stopped listening, it was around election time, and he was, while he was preaching, cooperation and all that, he was getting very centrist, if you will, as in there are bad people. Both sides are bad. It's like, well, one side tried to kill people, and the other one doesn't try and do that as much. So, rage quit a bit.
I thought you were ride or die him, though.
This stuff's good, but it's I think I haven't listened up through January 6th. I imagine the tune will change a little bit there, but I didn't listen to one of the episodes as well because it was he's very free speech, which is good, but he will give a platform, like he'll allow people. This episode was Spotify only because YouTube wouldn't allow it, because he let people call in and talk about what they thought about COVID. And he gave a platform to people that believed it was a hoax and that medicine isn't real. And it's like there's a point at which you're supporting that kind of stuff, Like,
did
people
he
have the right to say it.
Did he disagree with it at all? Or
no, he said everyone has a right to their own opinion. That was my issue with it. is he is being so non-confrontational that he's actually enabling them, right? Appeasement didn't work very well for Hitler, and it doesn't work very well for viruses either. So that's kind of the point I raged. It was the culmination of those two things. I kind of checked out, and I was like, okay, I need to stop listening to him for a while because this has pissed me off.
I do like his KFC reviews, though.
Yeah,
those are
the reviews are fine, but that stuff was like, how do you not see that you have this huge audience? You're giving a platform to these people that don't believe in science. Thankfully, science is real, whether or not you believe in it. But it's spreading these ideas to probably an impressionable audience. I can't imagine his audience is super old. I imagine it's, he's got some younger listeners. At that point, you're just allowing misinformation to be spread. Because, like, if somebody comes on and says, vaccines cause autism, he should come on immediately after them and say, thank you for your opinion, but that is false. He says, that's an interesting take. Now, that's not an exact quote, but that's kind of what was going on with that one. And I'm like, well, yeah, there's a reason YouTube wouldn't let you have that on there, because this is all fake information. None of it's true.
Well, here at the Audio Shop Podcast, we can promise we'll never sponsor anti-science rhetoric with our guests. The all two guests that we have.
Well, we've had Carmen on, we've had Matt on, we've had Pratik on.
Heavily vetted.
Jonah wants to come on too, but he keeps suggesting the Bob the Builder soundtrack.
Feel like that would damage our integrity.
Integrity. What integrity do we have? Tell me, Cooper, what integrity do we have?
I like to listen to the Audio Shop Podcast, but ever since they did that Bob the Builder review, I don't know.
And that's Jonah talking. All four of our viewers have been on at this point, except for Jonah.
Hey, if you wanted to review anything else besides the meme album, I'd be down for it.
Sorry, I guess we've had more than 4 because my parents have listened before. So,
Mr. and Mrs. Sam.
You wanna get on going then? It's been about 7 minutes. Yeah. Plenty of time for our non-existent audience to roll in.
Yeah, let's get going.
Shit, I left stuff open. All right. Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Audio Shop Podcast. It has been a hot second.
A hot second
since we did a last one. And Cooper moved to California.
I'm in sunny LA now.
Yeah. So what time
is it? Or actually, it's 5 o'clock here.
Jesus Christ.
And it's actually not that sunny. It's actually kind of cloudy today.
Is it cloudy or is it smoggy?
It's cloudy.
Okay.
Smog's not that bad-ish. And,
yeah.
Oh, it's such a negative Nancy.
I mean, that's the truth. I'm not trying to be negative. I mean, that's just something you're going to have to
You didn't have to bring it up, though. There's a lot of true things you don't have to bring up.
It's a fact about living in a city that big. LA is the biggest. Is it the biggest city?
I mean, but by population or by, like, density?
It's definitely not by density, but it's kind of like Chicago, right?
Yeah, it kind of depends on what you define LA as. Do you mean the city? Do you mean, like, the county? Do you mean, like...
There is an edge to LA, but, like, technically the city spreads out much, much further.
The tendrils of LA are wide and deep. So I guess it kind of depends on how you define that.
Yeah, at least in America.
So I don't think
China has a monopoly on the largest city, China or India.
That's true. They have some large populations.
Yeah, they've got quite a few.
I think technically it's less populous than New York, but New York's also like kind of confined to an island, so it's like can't stretch out as much, like indiscriminately. LA just kind of goes in all directions. Basically, just the mountains that cap it off.
Yeah,
mountains in the ocean.
Eventually, LA will encompass all of California.
Los Angeles County is Los Angeles State. But no, I've been enjoying it so far.
That's good. I imagine it's quite a bit warmer than where you've lived previously.
Oh yeah, I mean it was kind of chilly today, like 60 degrees.
Oh, So
not
chilly.
like okay, not too relatively, but a little windy.
Yeah.
I did do some hiking yesterday down at San Pedro. That was pretty nice. Had that nice ocean breeze.
Jealous. I thought about getting my bike out yesterday when it was nice and sunny, but it was still only like 50 degrees here at 4 p.m. when it was the hottest of the day.
Still kind of winter in Indiana. So
yeah. Spring's not
going
to
warm up soon
until like April.
Hey, you're almost there.
Might even be May, depending. But this week, we kind of went off track there a little bit. This week, we did Discovery by Daft Punk. Since it's old news now, but they split up.
I would say it's super old news. I mean, when was it officially announced?
Like 2 weeks?
Yeah, that was 2 weeks. That's not super old. Dang near contemporary compared to some of the stuff we review.
Yeah. Well, this news is new comparative to their 8 years of inactivity before they're split up.
Look, Daft Punk was never a super active band in terms of like constant output. Just they've been together since like 1993. They've released a grand total of 4 albums. Right. So that's like an album every 8 years, anyways.
What was it? Their last one was the Tron Legacy soundtrack.
The last one was Random Access Memory. Tron Legacy was back in like 2010.
Yeah. When was Random Access? I thought that was 2007.
No, that was 2013.
I see. And then just earlier this last year, I think you even talked about it on this, they released a deluxe version of the Tron soundtrack.
Yes.
So I guess you could count that as an album. Not really. It's just them releasing an updated version with more tracks.
Yeah, I guess it's just kind of like extend. It's not like they worked on new songs. They're probably just like studio.
Yeah, it was probably just
B-sides. Okay, we'll throw it out.
Yeah.
And then they departed. They split.
Yeah, what is it? How old were they in '93?
Like
about
the
our
actual,
age, right?
It says they were both born in 75.
Okay, I take that back then.
So yeah, 93. Yeah, 93 would be about, that's like 18. They didn't release their first album until 1997, so they'd be about then.
All right.
But yeah, so
they're getting
that's
old.
that. Yeah, that's a good 30-year run. Yeah. I'd rather a band I like end on a high note, or at least end on like having a tight discography as opposed to like just releasing a bunch of crap projects into obscurity.
Imagine Dragons. What's the other one? Panic at the Disco.
Even that's not even to call those two out. Though, yes. It's pretty common for, popular groups, their later stuff to be not as good.
Yeah.
The old cash in, quote unquote.
Yeah. How much longer till the one guy left in Panic drops the Panic name, you think?
Probably never. I think it's too good in terms of marketing.
Fair enough. Release a couple more stinkers and that won't be the case.
If it keeps selling.
I guess somebody will always buy it. Anyway, you want to do... I noticed you wrote quite a bit about Daft Punk and...
Yes, this album has a little bit of backstory, or I guess background to it.
You like the little crying frowny face I put next to Daft Punk were?
Yeah, they were a band. Not anymore. Not of last month. But they were a French electronic music group. So, like I said, formed back in 1993 in Paris. I'm not going to try to pronounce their full names because it's just going to be very botched. I'll just call them Guy and Thomas.
Guy Manuel and Thomas. Yeah,
right.
Bangalter. That's how
that cannot be it. Hi, I'm Thomas Bangalter.
That's a pretty good last name.
It is a good last name. But they formed in 1993, kind of a part of the French house movement. So kind of when house movement was really starting to take off, electronic music, in terms of like club stylings, really began to infuse over those years. And they're considered one of the most influential acts in kind of that dance genre. So their first album was actually released 5 years after they formed, 1997, Homework. And then this album, Discovery, was their sophomore album, released in 2001. And then, like we said, after their latest album in 2013, Random Access Memory. Latest. I mean, it was their last album released.
Yeah.
They just announced their split in February of 2021, which kind of influenced us to give this album a review.
Prior to this, we were going to review what was it?
Tom Petty.
Tom Petty, yeah.
that timely review, but this seemed a little more pressing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, this is their sophomore album, Discovery, considered by a lot of their fan base to be their best, though there's some argument around that. And it is a pretty marked shift from their first album, which was, like I said, Homework. I'm not sure if you gave Homework a listen to, Sam, but it's a lot more of a very noisy album, like more like electronic, like dissonance, as opposed to Discovery, which has a lot more kind of disco and post-disco R&B sounds going on. So kind of a evolution to Chicago House is what it's called.
Mm-hmm. I can't, looking at it now, the only one I know is Around the World, because I listen to that one all the time.
Around the World.
But I'm sure I've heard most of these, but I couldn't tell you what their names were.
Yeah. Homework's an interesting album.
It's not really recent, I can tell you that much.
Listening, it gets you a little bit of ear fatigue just because it's like all on. It's all gas, no brakes.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's a little more of a shift in something a little more melodic in terms of electronic music. It's also based on their, as a reflection of their childhood memories. It's supposed to, or reading up on it, is like they want it to feel like whenever you were younger and you weren't really thinking about like the literal mechanics of music, but kind of just music was just its own thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was innocent, playful. And this album had a Japanese anime movie attached to it. A 1 hour Japanese anime movie called Interstellar 5555, the story of the secret star system.
With fives instead of S's.
Yes, five, of course. And yeah, it was I did watch this film for this review, Sam.
Wow.
And it's actually pretty fun.
I've seen some segments of it, but I've never sat down and watched it all the way through.
Yeah, there's no dialogue. It's literally this whole album played front to back in order. With this kind of interesting story about I mean, I'm going to spoil it for you, Sam, if you don't care about that.
Fine.
Spoilers for a 20-year anime.
Ahead if you want to not be spoiled on a anime that's just an album.
But it's about a alien band called the Crescendolls, which is obviously one of the tracks on this album. Mm-hmm. But they're kidnapped by a mysterious organization for unknown reasons. Until it's revealed, they were kidnapped by a literal human scientist and taken to actual Earth in the 1970s, and then disguised as human band members and forced to make music for this guy so that he could win the Grammys. That's the actual plot. And when they're at the Grammy Awards, Daft Punk is one of the nominees for Album of the Year, and they lose to the Crescendolls for a song that they made in real life. So it's pretty funny. Obviously, it's not taking itself too seriously. Like the big reveal at the end is the fact that it's so dumb, is that the scientist has been kidnapping alien musicians for like millennia because he needs to get as many Grammy gold records as possible. He needs 5,555 to complete a ritual to take over the world. Huh. That is the reason.
You'd think if he had the technology to be kidnapping aliens, he could do that a little bit easier.
You'd think that, but he goes the completely legitimate route of just having the best-selling album and winning the Grammys 5,555 times in a row.
Fair enough, I guess.
Which, I mean, power to him, but...
And the Grammys are only held once a year, right?
Yes.
I can foresee some issues with this.
Like I said, this man's been going at like he kidnapped Mozart or whatever and made him into an alien or whatever. So,
okay. But
interesting visuals. Very classic kind of anime styling, like 1990s anime. And yeah, with this album as a backing, it's actually pretty fun. But of course, that's neither here or there. It's a nice supplemental to the album.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a backstory to this album, and the fact of this is where they adopt their famous robot personas, where they both have the two helmets. And according to their lore, they released a press release where they were working in their studio at 9:09 a.m. on September 9th in 1999 when their sampler exploded. And after reconstructive surgery, they found that they had been turned into robots. As you do.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they would keep this kind of moniker, always wearing those helmets on stage until their breakup.
I imagine they'd still go around wearing those helmets. I would. It seems like a fun thing to do,
I mean, they're cool helmets.
Yeah. They've got like LEDs in them now, too.
Yeah, they're all like futuristic. They got like the matching suits. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so maybe a little more in-depth than needed for this album, but I don't know, just had some fun backstory.
Jumping into the music then.
Yeah, we could start with track number 1, One More Time, featuring Romanthony.
Which arguably is, there's 2 super famous songs on this album, and I would argue that this is the first of them.
Yes, I would agree. And we'll get into the second later.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it kind of starts with this kind of distant melody, very electronic and bitty, before it kind of clears up and this bass riff gets added in with the drum kit. And of course, Romanthony's vocals being played over.
Heavily stylized.
Yes, heavily stylized. Like very, I forget the term for it, but like, I guess auto-tuned would be the term.
It's almost a step beyond auto-tune.
Yeah, almost like
trying to get that electronic noise into the vocals as much as possible. Like this is the step between auto-tune and vocoding, right?
Yeah, it's basically some sort of in-between where it's obviously a real guy singing it, but it's heavily manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
Electronicized.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds good.
Yeah. Fits the vibe of the song and the vibe of the album as a whole. Obviously as electronic music.
Yeah, and this one is a bit repetitive, I will say. That's the case of quite a few of their songs, but it's no Around the World. I will say that.
I mean, that's a bit endemic of the genre as a whole. It's like, it's house club music, so, it's not exactly going to be varying from its core formula, usually. So it's kind of like, how can we take this core and manipulate it enough to make it interesting?
Right, with that constant undercurrent of pulsing bass.
Yes.
Which really pumps the song up.
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of these songs, a lot of the songs are actually a little more low-key than I was expecting going into it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to those later, but this is a very nice, not like super energetic, but a nice head-bopping beat to kind of lead the album off into.
Mm-hmm. I will say, I've really never liked how they include the breathy ends of the lyrics. Did you hear this?
Breathy ends.
So like after he finishes a line, there'll often be like a sigh or something, which is partially electronicized. And due to the heavy edited nature of the lyrics, it sounds as if he's like clenching his stomach and like forcing it out. And then at the end of the line, he relaxes and goes like, and it's every single time. And it's always really bugged me with that.
I mean, I guess I noticed it. I wasn't very perturbed by it. I guess maybe just because it's so kind of stylized.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of just took it as part of it. I mean, if this was like just if there was no manipulation, I imagine it'd be even more annoying.
Yeah, but I think that's my biggest gripe with this song is I think it would be a lot better if you got rid of that. Like, sure, it adds something, but I don't think what it adds is good,
Yeah, I'm not like a super like crazy on Romanthony's vocals. I like this feature a lot more than his other feature on this album, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a decent opener. I mean, there's a pretty long like mellow section in the middle where it's focusing just on the vocals that I'm not super big into. It lasts like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
But
it's okay. This heavy stylization helps a lot. Where in later they drop it and it's bad. But yeah, this is arguably one of Daft Punk's most famous songs. It's up there with The second
Around
song
the World.
Yeah, well, Around the World, I think it's their most famous early song.
Yeah. Yeah, but we can jump on to track number 2 if you're ready, Sam.
Yes, sir.
Aerodynamic, which starts with this kind of ominous, like tolling of the bells, before busting into a certified guitar groove.
Yeah, I was really not expecting that to pop up. It's got that nice saw wave filter on everything in the song as well, which gives it, even though it's traditional instruments, in a couple of cases, the saw wave filter makes it sound all electronic.
Yeah, it gives it a nice crispness that really helps it meld with the synth.
Mm-hmm. Especially when that guitar solo is going on its own with nothing else with it, that very slight echo along with the saw wave filter makes it fill up the audio space, if you will.
Oh yeah, this whole album's just got a bunch of subtle production choices that really just, that individually, don't do too much, but like when all added together, kind of make Daft Punk, right? Kind of what sets them above their contemporaries. There's a lot of attention to detail and just like these instrumentals really getting corrected. Which I don't know, it adds a lot of character to like that guitar solo isn't, the licks itself aren't like necessarily interesting. It's just kind of this kind of repeating like up and down lick. But when you add that crunch, you kind of electronicize it, you kind of add the synth bubbling underneath it, it adds to a nice effect.
Yeah, especially once the other instruments come back in after the solo. The guitar starts, moving around and changing a little bit before the song just completely flips on its head and goes to all synth at like 2:30, and the style completely changes, but it works.
Yeah, and I do like, and the style's like kind of cut up by those bells returning, so nice little returning motif.
And there's a little bit of soft wind blowing noises in the background as well, which I like for being titled Aerodynamic.
Yes, it's a nice little mellow ending.
Yeah.
It's a 3.5-minute song, but it has nice progression.
Yeah.
Ends in a different spot than it begins, but feels consistent.
And it's worth pointing out that if you were to look at it, just breaking it down to its bare components, it would be considered very repetitive. But they do enough to where there's just enough things that they're getting you to focus on where you don't realize how much certain elements are repeating.
Yeah, it's quite the magic trick, sonically. And one that they pull off, at least on this album, I think more successfully than unsuccessfully.
Yeah, there's a couple times.
Or more often.
But
yeah, there's a... but this is not one of them.
Yeah, for sure. Very strong second song.
Then moving on to track number 3, Digital Love. Which kind of like in track number 1, one more time, and it kind of has that kind of distant, kind of subdued groove going on in the background before busting in more properly.
This one, I was convinced it was going to break into like a vaporwave song. It was very vaporwave-esque at the start before everything else came in.
Yeah, there's some elements in this, especially this song, where it feels quite ahead of its time. I mean, this album was made during the late 90s, released 2001. And it was ahead of the curve on a lot of things, or maybe I guess you could say an influence, since a lot of people have been influenced from Daft Punk, especially the like kind of very melodic, robotic vocals on this song. Particularly, I've listened to a lot of, especially like Bandcamp or like SoundCloud songs that use very similar vocal stylings to this song, particularly, where it's just kind of a pleasant, robotic, melodic tone.
And this one tricked me a bit at the start. I almost thought that it was vocoded, but you can hear, not as bad as with track number 1, but you can hear breath noises occasionally, which indicate that it is not vocoded, because the filter is being applied to the breathing.
Yeah, but it writes that line between human and robot.
I would say this is even further down the line towards vocoded from One More Time.
Yes, this album kind of runs the game between full human and full techno. And this one's closer to the techno. But I think it works.
It does.
Even though the vocals, ironically, are a little more sentimental, despite being more electronic, which works for this slightly more sentimental song. It's just got this nice mellow guitar groove in the back, a super sweet like keyboard breakdown at 250.
Yeah, that keyboard breakdown, I don't know if you picked up on it. That sounded almost exactly like Supertramp.
Oh, like the beginning of it?
The synth settings that they used for that sounded very nearly identical to Supertramp synth settings, because there's certain elements of elements of instruments that different bands use that becomes kind of like their style. Like you can pick out any Supertramp song because of the synth they use, right? It's the same in every single song. They don't change the settings. They tape the settings down and they go with that. The melody's different, but the settings are exactly the same.
I know that you mentioned it.
Another example off the top of my head, but the synth on this, I had to do a double take because I was like, this is almost exactly the same settings that Supertramp uses, and it kind of took me out of the song a little bit.
And I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be too surprised if they did that even intentionally, considering these guys grew up in the early 80s, you know?
I'd be
primo Supertramp time.
I would be shocked if they didn't do it on purpose, or at least subconsciously thinking about Supertramp while doing it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, this album has a lot of throwback instrumentations, which they did quite intentionally. And have said so. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they intentionally went out their way to have a very 80s sounding keyboard, and thus aligned with the Supertramp stars.
But I thought that was pretty cool. It took me out of it a little bit, but it was neat to hear it used, you know, not by Supertramp.
Yeah, it's a nice song. And it leads right into track number 4.
Arguably
Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. I'd say it's this one and Get Lucky. Definitely they're two big boys, the top dogs.
Yeah, I forget Get Lucky's made by them though. I always think of it. I always think of
it as like a Pharrell song. So it's very Pharrell, but
that's probably, honestly, nowadays that's probably their most famous song. Because I have heard that on the radio more than.
I mean, that's probably their most radio friendly single.
Yeah. I
mean, just with Pharrell's kind of boyish vocals, but this one is it's a certified synth funk groove.
Oh yeah. I can't tell you the number of times I've used this to lift weights at the gym.
I mean, I can't even tell you why it's necessarily as like energizing as it is, because like breaking down piece by piece, it's not like a super like driving song.
Yeah, sitting down and actually analyzing it, I never realized how slow and how few instruments there actually are in the song.
It's basically like a case study in just like like taking it like 3 building blocks and then just spreading them out over the course of a song and just like rearranging and manipulating into this complete sound.
Mm-hmm. And this is the first song on the album that is fully vocoded. That's some great talk box going on in this one.
Yes, the talk box is really a standout on this song, where it's basically repeating the same like 10 words, but like each time the verse returns, it's like manipulated like these different forms that are still recognizable, but maybe a little faster or like pitched up, and like it's just an interesting progression for a song.
Mm-hmm. But the vocals are without a doubt the focus of the song, because there's not a whole lot going on in the background. Not that that's a bad thing.
No. I think it works to its strength.
Yeah.
And especially.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, especially whenever there's like there's that kind of breakdown at like the 2-minute mark, like everything drops out and then like builds back in. Ooh.
Yeah, it's really nice. There was some really cool things they did with the talk box in that area as well, which I always love. The trill is a real fun section, where they're going real fast on the keyboard but staying consistent with the vocals. But actually sitting down and thinking about, there's the staccato vocals. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where it's almost sections are missing from what's being said.
Yeah, it's very cut up.
So I imagine what they did is they just had the lyrics in front of them, right? And they were just mouthing the lyrics as you do with the talk box. If you haven't ever seen a talk box, not you, Cooper, I know you have, but audience, it's basically something that you plug into a keyboard, and then instead of the keyboard producing sound through a speaker, there's a tube that comes from the talk box. You put it into your mouth, and you mouth words, and it sounds as if you have what's auto-tune built into your vocal cords, right? But you're not actually making any noise. It's all the keyboard making the noise. And it sounds amazing, and I love it, and I would love to get one someday. But basically what they're doing for this is they're going through the vocals, and that's easy enough to do. You know, you've got harder, better, faster, stronger, whatever else they have written through there. But they don't have keys on the synth to match all of the vocals, right? So they're going through the lyrics easily enough. But when they're playing, it sounds all split up because they're skipping keys and, omitting sections. And it produces this amazing effect where it sounds like they start singing and cut it off mid-word or come in mid-word, and it's just great.
Oh yeah, this is an excellent song. Honestly, my biggest problem with it is that it just kind of ends. I wish it went on longer.
I think it's good. You know, it's the perfect kind of length to where it pumps you up before you realize it's actually not a very fast song.
Yeah, it's a good song. And it's got a good Kanye cover. All right, moving on to track number 5, Crescendos.
You know it.
Everyone likes that. Stronger is a certified banger.
No, it's
track number 5, Crescendos. Which kind of starts with this like drum and like repeating laser sound effect.
Yeah, that mid note that they've got in there, and it comes back again later. It's way too wet for my taste. I can't describe it any better than that.
You know, you say the word wet, but it's pretty on the money.
Like,
it's got like
how else to describe it.
There's like a stickiness to it.
Yeah.
And they use a pretty interesting like funk sample on this song. I'm not sure where it's from, but it has a very interesting combo of like a very party-esque vibe while also kind of feeling spacey.
Yeah, this one lost me a little bit. Just coming off of Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. It's very, very, that one repeating melodic line until about 2 minutes kind of takes me out of it. It loops just a bit too often, and you start to pick up and like, oh yeah, okay, this is looping a lot. And that kind of took me out of it, so to say.
I can understand. This one has a very core repeating center hook, which gets a little obvious. I think when it's kind of grinded up against those like repeating synth laser sounds, becomes a bit much. Though I do like the record scratch breakdown. I like the 2:15 mark. Like, what? They actually threw that in. I mean, I think they're kind of going for like a futuristic disco party vibe.
Yeah, and the anime shows that as well, doesn't it? From what I remember from the clips I've seen. Yeah, this
song is whenever they are performing on Earth as the Crescendos, and are attending the Grammys or winning Album of the Year with their album One More Time, to which Daft Punk loses. Oh man, I love that scene. I agree. There's some elements of this song that I don't like, and unfortunately, that's one of the downsides of house. Is if you don't like an element, it sticks around.
Yeah, yeah. And following up Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger doesn't do it any favor.
Yeah, that doesn't help either. But we can go to track number 6, Sam, if you're ready. Night Vision, which is like basically like a moody piano vibe intermission.
Yeah, and it's pretty short. It's like just over a minute long, right?
It's like 1:40.
Yeah, well, it's short compared to everything else.
Yeah, I mean that's a short song.
But going back to the heavy inspiration from earlier bands, I got a very heavy 10cc vibe from this one.
You know, I can see it.
Because it's got that kind of singy synth and the heartbeat drum, or heartbeat bass drum. I would be shocked if that wasn't their inspiration for this one.
You know, I was thinking of it when I listened to it, but now that you mention it, I can very much see it. It's quite. I mean, there's no vocals. It's only 2 minutes. It's basically an interlude.
Yeah, I think it's a very good interlude. It doesn't do much on its own, but it helps a lot to break up the album.
Yeah, it's just a nice vibe. And I think there's a song later on this album that kind of builds upon this mood. Yeah. So I like it as a little refresher.
Yeah, I mainly was just thinking about 10cc the whole time I was listening to this one.
Yeah, but it doesn't stick around long, so we won't either. So we'll go to track number 7, Superheroes, which starts with this like military drum line that bumps into a club beat, which is hilarious.
Side note, Cooper, is this actually how it's spelled with an E after the O, or is that a typo on your end?
That is how it's spelled.
All right, let me put that in then.
Superheroes.
Yeah, this one, it's another really repetitive one up to the 2-minute mark, which seems to be the case for a couple of these, where it takes a bit to kind of get going. And then once, it finally gets going, the synth comes out on top with this pulsing melody line before everything else drops away. And it's still got that pounding bass drum, which is in every song, which is their main bass line.
I mean, yeah, it does take a little bit to get going, but I think it actually has a decent payoff.
Yeah.
Just with like this very melodic synth kind of welling and bubbling up beneath the surface before it kind of combines back into that pounding beat. And there's lasery ass sound effects.
Yeah.
It's literal pew pew.
I'm pretty sure they're the same assets used by Mecco in the Star Wars.
So, yeah, it's like very much like that. Yeah, I just really appreciate the way this great synth line kind of digs into the song, combined with everything. It kind of makes the beginning part have a nice payoff.
Yeah, I'd argue the quality of the song improves drastically once the vocals drop out.
Oh yeah, it almost ends with like kind of this space opera vibe at the end.
Yeah, it's what they're doing is they're playing traditional pipe organ note progression on a synth, which just sounds amazing. And they do it even better later, which blew me away. I'm like, how have I not heard this before? It makes absolute sense to combine traditional organ playing with the digital organ synthesizer.
Yeah, no, it's a nice combination of sounds.
Very beautiful.
Brings a tear to my eye.
Jump to track number 8 if you're ready.
Track number 8, High Life. Which starts up with another kind of chopped up vocal sample used over a club beat. Kind of this female vocal sample. It's really peppy and upbeat.
This one is, again, very heavy vaporwave vibes, at least at the beginning.
Yeah, some of these songs are very proto vaporwave. I mean, obviously a little more energetic than what you would typically categorize vaporwaves as. But you can definitely see like this is like the primordial ooze from which it eventually arose.
Yeah, just dropped all the heavy bass elements, and there you go. There's vaporwave.
There you have it. I do think the song has a nice wind down around the 145 mark. Though, and the vocal samples are catchy. Though this one kind of, I don't know. There's not like too much going on with it.
Yeah,
at least I feel.
I was about the same. It's good. There's nothing like I don't have anything to complain about, but it's just bland.
It's a little tasteless.
Yeah, it's
not
like
you
just finished this delicious piece of tiramisu, and then somebody hands you a cup of stale, unsweetened tea.
It's fine,
It's good enough, but can I have more tiramisu? Jump into track number 9 if you're ready.
Yeah. That's enough I can say about that.
I didn't have anything else written down for that one.
Can go on to Something About Us, which this is the one I was referring to when I said Night Vision kind of had like an expanded version. That's what this song is. where it's just good night driving music, where it's got this like very low key guitar and synth in the background,
and some real funky bass coming out.
Some funky bass. Which I'm not sure what effect they did. It almost sounds like a mixture of like almost vocoded and like bass sounds.
So they've got a bass, and then they've got some very deep vocoded voice providing assistance to it. And it's the same kind of thing where they have something that they're obviously mouthing, but the mouthing doesn't completely get covered by what they're hitting on the keyboard. So it provides that snippet section feeling as well, which is, I think, I kind of wish they did admit more, but I understand them not doing it because it kind of, it loses its novelty the more you do it.
Yeah. But I think it's a pretty cool effect.
Yeah. I'll say for this one, then after you get the funky bass, you get the funky synth coming in, which really sets the mood. But then the vocals that come in just kind of ruin it for me.
Oh, I'm the opposite. I like the vocals.
Like, you had this nice funk vibe going on, but then the vocals are really just mismatched and don't really work, in my opinion.
I don't know. The vocals for me they're laid back. They're obviously not too energetic. They were very similar to Digital Love to me. Mm-hmm. In terms of, being a little robotic, but, having a lot of heart behind it. I don't know. I think it's pretty nice. And it doesn't appear in the song till like a minute and a half in.
Yeah. But once it comes in, they drop quite a few of the funk.
That is true. They do kind of drop the bass stuff. So.
I think if they had kept up with that, I would like it a bit more. But it just feels like the vocals come in and kill the funk. And then it never comes back. And it's like, oh, come on. That was fun.
I do like the funk, but yeah. I think the vocals are fine too.
Yeah.
I just appreciate this low-key groove.
Yeah.
What can I say?
But talking about some real funk, if you're ready, Coop.
Oh, I am.
Jump into track number 10.
Track number 10, Voyager.
Now, here's some funk. Real dirty bass going on in this
bass groove is chef's kiss.
And that's all I had written. I lost in this one, and then suddenly it was the next song. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, this one starts mellow enough. It's just kind of like a little bit of synth backing, that drum kit. Mm-hmm. But then that bass kind of jumps in and kind of smacks you. It wakes you up.
This was a real vibe.
I mean, it's more energetic than Something About Us, but it's still it's kind of mellow.
Mm-hmm.
This album's actually surprisingly mellow as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's harder to realize that when you're just listening to the music, right? But when you sit down and analyze it, although calling what we do analyzing is a bit of a stretch.
At least observing.
Yeah.
Commenting.
A bit closer than you normally would. You kind of pick up on things like, actually, this is a lot slower than it initially appears.
Which honestly I think is a good thing because, like I said, their previous album, Homework, is all gas.
Yeah.
And it is tiring. I mean, it's the same length. It's about an hour.
Yeah.
But you kind of get ear fatigue, just like I did. Just so much electronic noise just going all the time. So these interludes, these breaks, and these kind of varying amounts of energy really help to make the whole album more enjoyable as a whole.
Yeah. This album definitely does not feel like it's an hour long. It feels like it's half hour.
Yeah, it's very good economically in terms of its time. With one exception, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, jump into track number 11 if you're ready, Coop.
Track number 11. Again, another mellow song.
Pronounce it.
Oh, Veritas Quo.
It's probably Veritas.
Veritas Quo, something
Maybe.
Like that.
I don't know. That's probably still an Americanized butcher of it.
I'm not sure what that means, but
this is the one I was talking about that had the synthing, the classical style of organ, which I did not know I wanted until I listened to this song.
Yeah, it's like a melancholic organ-esque, but still like distinctly like a synth organ.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a moody mood. Kind of contemplative, of course, before drums start to pop in over it.
Yeah, but I kind of like that juxtaposition of the kick drum with the modern electronic classical organ sound.
Yeah, they meld much better than you would imagine.
Mm-hmm. And then the layers just keep on coming. There's the pulsing synth, there's the soaring synth. They all just keep building on top of that classical style bass to the end of the song. And there's no lyrics in this one, but it's fantastic. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's again, it almost feels like an interlude akin to Night Vision. Obviously, this one's a lot longer. It's like almost 6 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
But the kind of lower energy with the drums, the spacey synth line that kind of sneaks in every now and again, helps to give it some mileage.
And then right there at the very end, it does the classic chord hold, where it goes
chord hold.
It ends, and then it moves to a non-resolved note, and then comes back to the resolution. Oh, it's great. I love it.
Oh yeah, it's a very nice vibe for a song.
Granted,
maybe a little.
Sorry.
Sorry. I was going to say maybe a little on the long side, but
no. Granted, then again, I listen to classical organ for fun. So
well, okay. So
that's I got to be transparent here. My focusing music includes toccata and D and shit like that. So
so you're liking what you're getting.
Yeah, I like my classical organ. Jump into track number 12.
Track number 12. Short Circuit, which is like on the polar opposite end of the spectrum in terms of electrical, which is just like the most in your face like groove going at you.
I got some heavy premonitions of Derezzed from Tron in this one.
Yes, a lot of
Derezzed coming.
Almost like a video gamey esque vibe going to it, with just how kind of in your face it is. Which is actually, it's pretty fun.
I think that main lick is a little too short and repetitive for my taste. It could be...
I mean, it's only a 3-minute song overall. So I think they get their mileage out of it. Plus, it has a nice little breakdown at like the 145 mark, where it slows down a little bit. Gets a little more chippy and distorted, as if the song's like actually breaking down.
I think I might have judged it a bit harshly, just because it reminded me of Derezzed, and then it reminded me I could be listening to Derezzed instead of this, instead of Short Circuit.
That Tron soundtrack is pretty fire.
Yeah. That's all I had for that one. You want to jump to 13?
Yeah, we can keep going.
Lucky number 13,
Face to Face, featuring Todd Edwards. And this one is got a lot of chopped up vocal samples in it. I remember reading some like 70 samples that kind of spliced throughout the song. So it adds to a very kind of glitchy, disjointed feel effect for the vocals.
Again, very heavy vaporwave vibes from this one.
Yes.
A bit more so, even since it's kind of lost that heavy bass. And I don't know what your opinion on this one was, Cooper, but this was it kind of lost that Daft Punk charm to it. It just kind of sounded like a generic pop thing.
I can see where you're coming from, where it's got a little more of a poppy sound. Where it lost me was I wasn't a fan of that the main male singer on this one.
Yeah.
It's just his vocals are like super clean. And I don't really care for his vocals.
Yeah.
So that makes it kind of fall off for me overall.
Yeah, especially since when everything on this album has been so electronic, having such a clear vocalist is kind of like, what's going on?
I feel like they could have manipulated it or produced over it a little bit more to make it kind of fit more into the vibe. I guess overall the song's a little less electronic as the others. I still like the kind of bloopy bass underneath it. And the chopped up vocal samples are pretty fun. But yeah, maybe a little more middling in terms of my taste for it.
Yeah.
It also just sort of ends.
Yeah. But it ends right into the final track on the album.
Final track on the album.
10 minutes long. Too long.
Too long, featuring Romanthony.
And they,
funny joke.
Funny, haha.
It's too long. It's
too long.
It's too long, haha. But actually, though,
it's too long. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, this is unfortunately, I think the weakest song of the album. It's not just because it's 10 minutes long, right? We've listened to longer songs that we've liked.
Crazy
But it's a mix of the vocals I don't like.
Yeah.
I think Rome Anthony's vocals worked a lot more on One More Time, where they were a little more produced, a little more,
and even there,
electronicized.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they weren't fantastic, but here they're a lot more clear, and they're a lot more present.
And at the beginning there's not much other than vocals.
The vocals and like a drum kit.
Yeah. You can hear a little bit of the Daft Punk stylings before the instruments come in at 1:30, but other than that, it's not an electronic song. It's so drastically different. Thankfully, halfway through, it changes. But I feel like it's too little, too late at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it adds some like interesting elements, or at least some better elements later in the song. But I really don't know what compelled them to make this one in particular 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
Especially with the vocals too. Yeah. This does not feel like an ending track. Honestly, I think this track's like the only major misstep on the album. At least in my taste, of just like, I cannot justify what they were thinking here. Like, it's not like terrible. It's listenable, but like, it's boring, unfortunately.
Yeah. And compared to everything else, it's just worse.
Right. I mean, Face to Face would have been a great ender, but I would have preferred it to this.
Yeah. I think if I were to restructure this album, drop Too Long and move Veritas Quo to the end.
Yeah, that would have been a nice.
I think that's probably the best ender on the album.
So, yeah. Not. I mean, it's 10 minutes long, but I honestly don't have that much to say about it.
Yeah, I didn't either. It just it was just kind of there.
I mean, beat comes in, some female vocals come in, but yeah, unfortunately, not the best way to end the album, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And that's Discovery, by Daft Punk, not the ELO album. We'll get to that one eventually.
One of these days.
So, you have any? What do we do? We do. Let's do least favorite first, because I imagine that's going to go.
I mean, we were just talking about it, so I'm going to sound repetitive, but yeah, definitely too long. Yeah. It's just I'm a sour note to wait in the album, unfortunately. It just sticks around.
It's too
the
long.
point I'm just like, yeah, I'm just kind of sick of it by the end.
Yeah.
I'm assuming something similar for you, Sam.
Oh yeah, too long. And my second least favorite, I'd have to say, Short Circuit.
Oh man, come on, that groove though.
Like I said, looking back now, I think I might have just been a bit too harsh because I was thinking about Derezed, and I wanted it to be Derezed, and it wasn't. But I don't know. It's just something about it that I didn't like.
Oh, fair enough. It's pretty in your face, so it can come off strong. Well, what was your favorite song then, Sam?
Favorite? I'm gonna be a basic bitch, and it's Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. Of course, it's the best song on the album. But my second favorite, because we've already talked about that one, is Veritas Quo, and it's just because I love the fact that they took that classical church organ that you hear in so many pieces produced for religion, in the past 500 years, and they moved that to the synth, and kind of put new twists on it. I thought that was really amazing and shows how good they are at music in general, especially the fact that they emulated both Supertramp and 10cc without sounding exactly like them.
A homage. An homage.
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 But yeah, Veritas Quo is, I had no idea how much I wanted to hear classical organ played on synth, and this is probably going to go into some playlist of mine now.
Oh yeah, Veritas Quo, Voyager, Something About Us. That whole run's pretty great. I like Digital Love though. I'm gonna have to agree. Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger. It's just something about it, man. It just gets me pumped. It is the Daft Punk song, and for good reason. I always enjoy listening to it, no matter how many times.
It is one of my go-to workout songs because it never fails to inspire me.
I need to be stronger. I need to be faster.
Strong.
I need to be harder.
Hold on.
That's just
maybe not
better. Then Sam, what's your overall rating for the album then?
While it's very solid, it's kind of it doesn't make you jump for joy. I don't know where I'm going with this. It doesn't make you feel like you have to run out and tell somebody about it. It's a very good album, very tight, but I feel like the fact that it's a bit more laid back influenced my rating.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking like new, which we didn't even describe the rating system, by the way.
Oh yeah,
we just launched straight into it. Showroom, scrapyard, blah blah blah. 5 out of 5, 1 out of 5. Good,
yeah, you know the deal.
You get the gist from now.
Whoever's watching this,
we'll do something funny next week. But while there are some songs on here, like if you have never heard Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, yes, listen to it. It is one of the most famous songs of the past 20 years, probably. And I definitely say listen to Veritas Quo, but I don't think it's required listening for the whole album. If you like electronic, yeah. If you like Daft Punk, yeah. But you've probably already listened to it if you're in that camp. And I think the misstep with Too Long, and there's just a couple of things I think that chip it away from that showroom to just a highlight new.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with you there. And to get in terms of giving it a like new, as a whole album, I think it's really great. I mean, it's an hour long, mm-hmm. and I haven't gotten tired listening of it the multiple times I have. Mm-hmm. But there's a couple downsides. There's some songs. Too Long. Honestly, if Too Long was on this album, it might bump it up to a showroom.
Yeah.
But they didn't face to face. It's kind of a weaker ending. Mm-hmm. Kind of wish the album didn't put her out at the end. But beyond that, it's a pretty high like new. I think just in terms of like just a classic house album that goes some interesting places while maintaining a very internally consistent sound. It's well worth a listen just to sit down. Daft Punk. They're gone. They're not making any more albums. So now's the time to kind of go back and respect them.
Go back and listen through all 4 of their albums.
Yeah, I mean it's not like it's not like an extensive discography.
Yeah. And one of those is a soundtrack for a movie. So
well worth the listen. Yeah. So that's our thoughts. Sam, we got through. I don't know if you realize, but we're actually reviewing this on just about the 20-year anniversary of this album.
Really? When did
it was released the 26th of February 2001.
Wow. Well, we just missed it. Was the 26th of February Friday? No, it was we could have done it on the 28th. We would have been even closer last week.
It was released on the internationally the 12th, so that's pretty close.
Oh yeah, we're right in the middle then. We're perfect.
Yeah, except we did the average.
Yeah, that was on purpose.
Yeah.
But that was a Discovery by Daft Punk. Now we're gonna roll on over a little bit of car pun for you there to the spare tire, which is basically just whatever else we've been listening to. And Cooper, I imagine you're going to have a very exciting list here, and I'm going to say the same goddamn albums I say every time we do this.
I know I've had some good lists I've listened to. I've listened to a lot of Prince. Mm-hmm. I was going through his 2010 stuff, in my quest to listen to every Prince album ever, which I have completed. Thank you.
Wow.
There's some stinkers, but there's some surprisingly good ones. If you haven't given Hit and Run Phase 2 a listen, it was the last album he released before he sadly passed away back in 2016. Quite an album, which is surprising considering it's like his 30th album. And he still was releasing bangers all the way till the end. And then of course I listened to the new King Gizzard album. Listened to some Childish Gambino, but the one I'd really like to recommend as an interesting album experience, and I'm definitely going to butcher this, is Club da Esquina. That's definitely not how it's pronounced, but it's an album from Milton Nascimento. a kind of Brazilian guitarist, and it's kind of an interesting album. It's like it's from the 1970s. It's like a Brazilian, almost like kind of alternative psychic, like a rock album.
Okay.
It's got some pretty good cuts on it.
So, psychic rock? Are you just making things up now?
No, like psychedelic.
Psychedelic, okay.
Kind of, yeah.
I was gonna say.
Not like he opens up your third eye, Sam.
Yeah, it's some real new wave garage prog house.
Yes.
Just make things up.
But a very interesting, a sound. I don't listen to too much Brazilian music, as I imagine, a lot of Americans don't. But Milton's voice is heavenly. And some of the guitar work on this album is pretty great. So I highly recommend it for someone who's looking just for something completely new and out of the box. What about you, Sam? You got any spare tires you want to suggest?
Well, I've been listening to some ELO. I listen to Face the Music, Secret Messages, Time. Listen to some Armchair Theater by Jeff Lynne. Listen to some Traveling Wilburys. Listen, I like to listen to things that I know because I sing along.
I like what I like.
But I've also been listening through Cassiopeia, their album Asian Dreamer, a couple of times recently. Just a very, very, very good jazz album. Japanese jazz. I feel like the two kings of jazz are old white American guys and then the Japanese. And
then like Japanese in their mid-30s.
Yeah. They somehow only those two groups of people know how to do jazz good. And it's a fantastic album. It's from 1994. It's great all the way through. Highly, highly recommend it. It's a long one. It's an hour and a half. But
no, it's a jazz album. They're not really known for taking
short.
Being succinct.
Sticking with the jazz, I was also listening to quite a bit of Larry Carlton, the old white guy category.
Yes.
His album Room 355 has quite a few. It's kind of like it's got a lot of his big songs that he's done over his career. Although quite a few songs that he's done are covers of other famous jazz songs. But Room 355 extended edition, fantastic song. And then trying to remember. I'm trying to pull it up. What is it? Where is it? There's another one that is just fantastic.
Fantastic.
Pointed Up is one of his originals, and it's very high energy jazz.
High energy jazz.
Yeah, and if you like jazz, Larry Carlton and Cassiopeia. Larry Carlton was actually the guitarist. He's been a guitarist for Steely Dan, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I do like Steely Dan.
Yeah, he's quite the guy that's been around. Yeah, he was Steely Dan. What else did he do? He was in Foreplay. He's in the Crusaders. But yeah, his big claim to fame was he was a guitarist for Steely Dan.
Oh, nice. I have to get more into jazz. I've been listening to a lot of jazz recently, so.
Yeah. Well, if you're looking for a good intro, those two right there, those will give you different ends of the spectrum.
Different ends. I do like Japanese jazz.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I listen to Japanese jazz more than anything else these days. I think it was number 4 or 5 on my Spotify list for 2020.
I believe it.
Japanese jazz fusion. Because that and we already did the other one. Crap, what was their name? You listened to all their albums, I think.
Oh, you're thinking of Soil and Pimp Sessions.
Yeah.
They're a great band.
Yeah. They're also Japanese jazz fusion, aren't they?
They are. The most Japanese jazz fusion.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's all I got. You got anything else to add, Coop?
No, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think time we wrap it on up for the evening. So thank you all for listening to the Audio Shop podcast. If you've liked what you heard and you want to hear some more, if you scroll on down in the Twitch, in the little description, there's a picture of Jeff Lynne, the guy with the glasses and the curly hair. Click on that. That'll take you to YouTube, where all of our past things are uploaded. Uploaded, possibly not live. I have to double check on that. There might be something from a month ago that I'd never made live. And if you're listening on YouTube for some godforsaken reason, and you've stuck around to this point, and you want to hear us live, come on over to the Twitch. It'll be in the video description, and you can chat it on up with all me and the two other people that comment right at the start of the show and not again. And then if you have a suggestion for something you'd like us to listen to, we are notoriously slow, but we'll get to it eventually and possibly listen to something from that artist, but the wrong album.
But it might just not even be the right one. Who knows? It's like a grab bag. It's fun.
And it makes us want to listen to the actual album. You suggested even less, but we'll get to it eventually. But on the Twitch, you scroll down there, you can type it in there, and you can upvote on ones that somebody else has suggested and you want to listen to.
Yeah, but follow us up at Audio Shop Podcast, at Audio Shop 14 on Twitter for updates about what we're going to review.
Wait, can we get Audio Shop Podcast? Can we change it from 14?
I don't know. I haven't tried. I should try that.
That might be something nice to do, because I don't think I've looked it up, and I don't think there's another Audio Shop Podcast, or at least there wasn't, a year ago. There could very well be now.
Let me
the rate of people start podcasts. Hey, we're
it is.
White guys with
it is. As of literally 2 seconds ago, it's now officially Audio Shop Podcast.
Wow, that's a lot more professional than Audio Shop 14.
Oh, that's still the tag. Still at Audio Shop 14. Still
okay. You can't. You probably can't change the tag until you're big enough, right?
Right.
Shucks. That was the part I was hoping you could change. Well.
Yeah. Hopefully you can join us next time.
Yeah. So thank you all for listening, and we will see you later.
See you later, shoppies.
See ya.